Okay.
When you think of a healthy relationship, who do you think of? Is it the Ace family? We hope not, because today we're going to be talking about social media negatively impacts romantic relationships. Research has shown that social media has an impact on romantic relationships. We will present the evidence from peer-reviewed papers along with perspectives of those who are experts, such as a licensed therapist and an interviewees. To get started, let's look at the first point: research evidence on social media impacting romantic relationships. Social media has a potential effect on health status of relationships. First, Kuros and Michelson studied online and social media use in romantic relationships. The sample involved 432 participants in committed relationships. They discovered that those who use social media in moderate to high use increase the negative association between social media use and relationship health. Kuros, Michelson, 2021. This result also relates to expectations that we as a society tend to put on ourselves and our relationships. For example, in social media, we see all the sunshine and rainbows of couples. However, we tend to forget that we don't know the reality of couples we see online, which leads us to compare our relationship to unrealistic realities in social media. Social media has its benefits in connecting people around the world. However, it also has its role in infidelity behavior. McDaniel et al. Investigated this issue. The sample involved 338 participants who are married couples. McDaniel et al. Concluded and supported that there was a significant relation between infidelity behavior from social media and lower relationship satisfaction. In addition to anxiety, attachment, and avoidance from both men and women, McDaniel et al. 2016. In other words, this shows that those with attachment anxiety predicted more infidelity-related behavior. Also, those who rated to have lower relationship satisfaction predicted infidelity-related behavior as well. And this finding is significant because these are participants who are in committed and or married relationships. So they themselves, though they're married and committed relationships, they both are having these thoughts of the fear of being alone or losing their partner, which leads them to enacting behaviors such as infidelity. I want to provide a relatable example of social media infecting romantic relationships. For instance, the Ace family is part of a social media influencer phenomenon. The couple, Austin and Catherine, created the so-called couple goals, and I'm using them as an example of how social media has its disadvantages. Based on our textbook in Interpersonal Communications, the authors Altman et al. 2023 explain how our emotional awareness is essential for ourselves and our relationship with others. In addition, they mention that it's also necessary for growth in terms of our self-concept and self-esteem. I relate this to Catherine and Austin because Catherine released a statement from their separation that I quote, "I have spent the past few years prioritizing my children and honoring commitment to my family. All the while, I seem to be losing myself and my own personal happiness." Pais 124. This relates to emotional awareness because she can understand her emotions, but also can pinpoint where her feelings are coming from and how, when, where, and why, and what she can do to resolve those conflicts. And I believe that those conflicts are part of the social media disadvantages. Finally, for our second example, I will use the Ace family again, but this time for interpersonal conflicts. The author Hope and Yago 2023 explains that these occur when two or more parties perceive and experience a struggle over incompatible goals or scarce resources, etc. Based on this explanation, we know that things can cause conflicts within a relationship. This is significant because of the Ace family, Catherine and Austin, they based their popularity solely on social media. Catherine's statement also concluded that, and I quote, "Our paths as a couple have shifted and created challenges that are irreconcilable." Pais 2024. This falls along with the incompatible goals, which are goals that don't align with each other. This could be from social media, though we have yet to understand or learn the reason why they're separating and we're going by speculation. However, social media could be the sole reason. If one wanted to vlog for YouTube or any other social media activity, but the other does not want to do blogging, or any social media activity can cause a potential separation. Scarce resources mentioned as well can also be a part of it as well, because if in today's society, social media, a lot of people can make a good amount of income based on social media activity. And if one wanted to continue and the other one didn't, one wanting to continue could also be because they have a passion for social media, but also they also have the passion for earning the money. And but the other one doesn't. The other one could probably want just privacy and just want to be happy without the social media activity, which can cause a conflict between the two parties. Now, Uzi will talk about the social media expands our opportunities for connection, but simultaneously flattens the experience.
Okay. In his interview with Esther, Trevor Noah likens stand-up comedy to sex. The part that really stuck out to me, though, was the fact that social media has done to comedy what it has also done to sex. People won't be comfortable with you until they have all the information they need first. If you're scrolling and happen upon a random comedy clip with no context and no relationship with the comedian, you'll feel offended or outraged even, because you're hearing the joke out of context. The same thing is true of social media and intimacy. What social media has done to relationships is it has given us quick access to a wider range of potential romantic or sexual partners, but has removed the opportunity to get to know them really well before physical intimacy is placed on the table. Here's a quote from Esther Perel's interview with Trevor Noah. Esther Perel is a licensed therapist. When some random person is teleported into your bedroom and says, "Let's have sex," I think you'd be offended because there's no backstory. There's no journey. Who are they? How are they? Do you know their story? Everything we do in sex is a terrible, disgusting thing if you don't have the context for the other person. Perel and Noah, 2024. With dating apps like Tinder, there is this expectation that sex is always on the table, even before you've properly introduced yourself. To a lot of people, a match is consent. Consent to bring up sex, to request it, to demand it even. That's why there have been so many problems with unsolicited pictures and come-ons. According to Pew Research Center, 31% of men say that they use the dating app to have casual sex versus only 13% of women. And a whopping 56% of younger women who have used dating apps say they have received unwanted sexually explicit messages or images. Vocals 2023. Now, I'll reference another interview that Perel did with a colleague who's also a licensed therapist. In her conversation with Perel, Brown states that the other AI is the rise of artificial intimacy, which is all the experiences that we currently have that are fake. You're there, but you aren't present. This creates a particular kind of loneliness, where it's not the loneliness of actually being physically alone, but of being with people next to whom you shouldn't be feeling lonely, but you do. Emotional AI is a consequence of living in a contactless world where there is very little friction, and friction is necessary for fierce and real intimacy. Brown and Perel, 2024. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this right now know what I'm talking about. If not constantly, you've definitely experienced this feeling at least once, where you're talking to someone right in front of you, but they aren't actively listening. And then on social media, where you should feel connected to the people on your feed, you feel isolated or like what you're seeing isn't real because it's been curated. This applies to dating apps and quasi-dating apps like Instagram and Snapchat too. This flattening of supposedly social interactions gives us a skewed idea of what is actually supposed to take place when we meet a new potential romantic interest. And it leads to a lot of dissatisfaction and extreme cases, complete cessation of attempting to date.
Let me briefly discuss what we covered today. We dove into research that supports the idea that social media impacts romantic relationships. For instance, social media impacts the overall health status of relationships. Charles and Michelson 2021 concluded that social media based on moderate to high usage demonstrated a negative association with social media.
In addition, social media can cause potential infidelity behavior, which has been investigated by McDaniel et al. 2016. That there is a relationship between infidelity behavior on social media and those with low relationship satisfaction. Next, the ACE family is a significant example of social media impacting relationships because it represents the possible complications on how social media could be a potential in their breakup due to the reality of social media usage. Also, based on what was given in their statement, it gives us an idea of how interpersonal communication involving social media can lead to potential conflicts between the two parties, such as incompatible goals and scarce resources. Lastly, we use interviews from 2 licensed therapists to highlight how social media can warp our expectations when it comes to intimate relationships. The examples provided gave us insight into how dating apps like Tinder can have a disinhibitory effect, particularly on men. We included research that demonstrated this. Now, I would like to leave you with a quote from Trevor Noah. I wish for more moments where we are off the record, off social media. I wish for more moments where we exist from here to here, nowhere else, just in that moment. I think that's how we build communication. That's how we build understanding. That's how we build context. Perel and Noah, 2024.